Good morning, everybody. We hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Today is November 27th, 2023, and I'm B2B, and that's Mark Putrino.
All right. Hey, everyone. You all had a nice weekend?
A wonderful Thanksgiving. Good turkey. No fighting
Yeah.
with the family. It was nice.
Yeah, we had some good family drama going on in my family.
Oh, what happened, man?
A bunch of different things. One is my my brother's wife had a little too much to drink.
Yowzers.
um, then we had this drama. My niece is like this big progressive, and apparently she posted all this like pro Palestine stuff. And my my stepmother is Jewish, and my sisters
Oh,
are Jewish, so
that
there
didn't
was a
go well.
little intensity there. But the thing is a lot of these people, they don't even know. It's just for like an identity. They don't even know what it is that they're doing. They don't even know what it is that they're protesting. They're so
Listen, Mark, the first people that die when Hamas, first of all, the ladies, they no longer get the right to even speak or go outside without having male representation. If they're promiscuous at all, they can get involved in honor killings. The father or the brother can kill them because, well, they're a loose woman, so we can't have them degrading the family. I mean, these people are idiots that are sitting here standing up and supporting this, and it's just really a sad, sad state of affairs that we find ourselves in this country.
I know, especially because my niece is gay, and it's like, hey, if you were in Palestine right now, guess what?
She's dead,
They would kill you. Exactly.
and not even a second thought about it.
Exactly. Anyway, you know what? I was looking at something here. Let's see. So I got some new toys here. I'm going to start using some of these fundamental metrics.
Nice.
So this down here on the bottom. All right. So this is General Motors. Okay. And this down here on the bottom is their inventory. Now, as we know, if inventories are growing, it's generally not a good thing because it means that they're not selling stuff. So it goes into inventory.
Yep.
So we look at General Motors here and we go back to, I don't know, let's just go back to 2020. The inventory was 10.8 billion. Now it's 17.7 billion. I mean, that's a big increase.
Yeah, it is.
Over, 70% increase. So this to me, this is like long. I'm not talking about next week or two, but long term, this seems like it could be pretty darn bearish. Yeah, I mean, look at that. Let's look
That's
at
interesting. Pull up forward. Let's look at the EVs and let's see how bad that is. And the thing is if we had done these EVs by focusing on the grid first and building up the electrical infrastructure to handle these electrical cars instead of building the car before the grid, we'd have been in good shape by doing this in a logical manner, but it's not that way.
well, country's being run by idiots. So
I
no,
agree.
look at Ford. So Ford's inventory from 2020 has gone from 11 to 18. So that's big too.
Man, they can't give that Ford Lightning away.
See about Tesla. All right, so Tesla's inventory has gone up, but Tesla is doing well as far as I know. I mean, I don't know. Uh, I mean, just from what I hear, Tesla seems to be like the only EV company that's doing well. Um, but anyway, we got a lot of these retailers reporting this week. So I think, whoops, who was reported? A Dollar General. I think, sometimes you can get a little bit of insight into these retailers by looking at certain things. And one is if you get this big inventory build here, with let's see. So this has gone from about 5.2 to about 7. It's I don't really pay too much attention to fundamentals, but I think inventory and retailers are something that is worth watching. All right. So anyway, so these guys report this week. Another thing that is a good metric to look at is this here. Um, let's see, where the hell is it? Oh, they got goodwill there. Oh, look at this. They got like everything. I'm looking for is operating profit.
I want to ask you a question on goodwill, and I'm not a master's in economics at all, so that's why I'm asking. So these marijuana companies, when they do these like big discount deals, and they've got their prices based on a set of prices, and then they do these discounts, would those discounts fall over into goodwill?
No, well, goodwill is like a brand name.
Okay,
Like for instance, like Budweiser, even though it sucks, um, like Budweiser is like people know the name. You know what I mean?
gotcha.
So the company might have assets that are worth $1 million, but the name might be worth $1 million as well. So in that case, the company would have, half the value of the company would be goodwill. And basically, goodwill is really just a bunch of people sitting around the table saying, "Okay, this is what I think our goodwill should be." You know, that's what we
Gotcha.
see with those cannabis companies. How
Well, that's why I was asking was because of them. Because you've noticed, like with the holiday weekends, like your emails are blowing up with just the freebies that are going on with those
um,
people.
yeah, I mean, like the cannabis companies have a lot of goodwill because when all that whole cannabis craze was going on a few years ago, they just went on these buying sprees, and they just went out and they bought all these companies. Now, if you ask me, they overpaid, right? So the example I always use is that if just say you grew up somewhere and every house in that neighborhood was the exact same, and every house in that neighborhood um, was $500,000, and you go up to the house where you grew up and you say, this has some sentimental value here. I would like to, uh, I would like to buy this house back because I want to live here when I retire. So you knock on the door, and the person comes to the door, and you say, "Hey, listen, I'll pay you $500,000 for your house," and they say no. And then you say, "All right, I'll tell you what, I will pay you $600,000 for your house." Um,
So it's just the extra that they're willing to pay over the value.
yeah, so that extra $100,000 would end up as goodwill. So if we look at which one was it that
ACV.
was it ACB?
Yeah.
Was one of them?
ACV. Oh, it was Aurora Cannabis. I'm sorry. Oh, it was Tilray. I'm sorry. Tilray had the giant because they're the ones that bought the $50 billion or $50 million, $80 million Budweiser.
Just looking at this here. All right, so it doesn't give it in percentages. Oh, that sucks.
Tilray.
All right, so this just get well. All right, so it shows the value here. So let's see. Tilray. So market capitalization is 1.3 billion, and goodwill is 2 billion. No, this can't be right. Goodwill net, goodwill full year. Well, let's just go take a quick look at the balance sheet before we go to the numbers, because something's like I said, this is my new toy here, so I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to start figuring out what's important to look at. TLRY. Tilray Brands. Oh wow, look at that. These guys are located in Manhattan. All right, so we want to go to investors, and we want to go to financials, events and presentations, let's go to press releases. So I guess these guys are trying to switch over into like a beverage company.
Yeah, infusing it into beer or whatever.
All right, so the 10Q is the quarterly report. And now if we look at these guys and we go to their balance sheet, let's see. Financial statements, cash flows. All right, so let's see. Total current assets. All right, so their goodwill is two, and there's also intangibles too, right? Which is basically the same thing. So these guys are close to like 3/4 of their value is goodwill. So goodwill there is 2 billion, and then their value is 4 billion. So I'm just trying to look here. What on the chart is not making sense here because the market capitalization is 1.3 billion. I don't know, man. I just think this is a company that, I mean, they're changing their plans for a reason here. You know what I'm saying? All right. So anyway, here's one thing I wanted to draw to your attention, and we talked about this last week, and I think the market's getting set up for a move lower here, and one of the reasons why is because, and this is all, I you know what, I put the newsletter together, but I haven't uploaded it yet.
Okay.
All right, so let's look at some of the stuff that I'm looking at here. All right, so Nvidia comes along and reports these great numbers, and what happens? The stock didn't move, and we talked about this last week, right? That's bad action. This company reports really good numbers. You think it would make the price go higher, but it doesn't. And then what happens? We ended up going lower. Well, this is because I think it's like everyone who wants Nvidia has already bought it. So there's no one left to buy it. And if there's no more buyers, then the only place the price can go is lower because you need buyers to push the price up. So this is a pretty dramatic example of bad action. Now, I would suspect we're going to get a little bit of bounce if we get down to around 470. But if that support breaks, I think we could start to get a pretty decent move lower. So I think this is really important because this is like, you know, the stock of the stock du jour or the stock of the month or whatever you want to call it. And this is just your classic bad action. We got to 500, which is the psychological level. Really good numbers, but we didn't move ahead. It means the market's running out of buyers. Another thing is this the rapidity rapidness. I guess rapidness would be the right word. The rapidness of this shift here. So this is our sentiment, right? This is the American Association of Individual Investors. Now, these numbers aren't really at extremes, although they kind of are getting there. But this quick move here in 1 week, we went from 24% up to 43% bullish. And look how the bearishness dropped. All right. So when you have a lot of bulls, the overwhelming amount of traders are bulls, investors are traders are bullish. What happens? Well, they spend their money. And once they spend their money, the only place the market can go is lower, right? I mean, once it runs out of buyers. So if we look, I think I had it on here. All right. So if we go back to this screen again here. All right. So the most bullish we've been, remember, high bullish readings are bearish. High bearish readings are bullish. So the highest that we were in the last year was in July, and the highest bearishness we were was last December. And if we look at the charts, so this is where that, oh, wait a second. This is wrong. That most bullish, this should say bearish. Sorry about that. All right. All right. So this would be most bearish. So people get really bearish, it's time to buy. People get really bullish, it's time to sell. So sentiment's a pretty cool subject. All right, now let's look at a couple more things here, which I think is kind of important to look at. And you see the, I think it was the Iranians, like attacked a United States ship over there?
Mark, they've hit us over 65 times since October 7th, and we're not doing. We've hit a couple of supply dumps. We should have
I
blown up the
know.
oil refineries already and put them out of business. That's how you handle it.
It's just
You
inexplicable.
hit people in the pocket. You don't do this. What he's doing now is just making us look like a bunch of bitches.
Yeah. Well,
and not to mention the whole world has been under the thumb of these proxies of Iran for a very long time, and it's really sickening and getting old. And I'm not a warmonger at all. I really honestly, but I want everybody to get along, and it doesn't seem like it's ever going to happen again.
No, it's ridiculous. I mean, these people must watch our news and just laugh at us.
Oh God, yes.
All right. So anyway, so now here's the third thing, right? Well, is this the third or the second? I guess this is the second because we just talked about sentiment. So here's our S&P, and we're overbought, and we're trading around resistance. So that's technically, that's kind of a weak setup, right? And then you had this reversal, or a potential reversal at least, over here in the bond market, where on Friday, I guess it was Friday, see, we broke our downtrend.
Yep.
So we got rates heading back up. Now, let's see where these guys are this morning.
I heard Janet this weekend talking about how they had fixed the economy.
All right, so this is so bonds are trading up a little bit, so that means yields will be down a little bit. But anyway, those are some things to watch for. We got this rapid change of all of a sudden everyone's bullish, interest rates could be reversing, and then we got a lot of the market is really overbought here. So we got our financial sector overbought, and see, we got to this resistance, but we kind of just blew right through it. But this I think will be a more important level because this was a bigger top. So here's our financial sector, right? Overbought at resistance. Here's our technology sector, which seems to be consolidating. So the thing to watch here is, does this 180 level become a support level, or do we just kind of swing and go right back through this? So, financials start to roll over, this comes back, and this support starts to break. It's probably going to be pretty, I'm not saying the market's going to crash, but fairly meaningful sell. Now, here we have also, look at this, our healthcare sector, which is the second biggest sector in the market, is hitting resistance. And this is your perfect ascending triangle formation. And this is your textbook formation here, as they say, because ascending triangles tend to precede moves higher. And the ascending triangle is called that because you have this ascending line here. So you have on this line here, our resistance level are their sellers, and they're just hanging tight. They're okay with waiting, but the buyers are getting more aggressive and more antsy as time goes by. So you got this combination of buyers who are getting more aggressive and sellers who are complacent. It sets the stage for a move higher. Sure enough, that's what happened. And look at where we ran into resistance. So not a coincidence that this is where we stalled out on Friday, and this is where we're trading this morning. This is a level that had been support, and it converted into resistance. And we know that this is because there were people who were buying here who decided to get out at break even once the price went lower. If they could, price gets back up to their level. So you get these remorseful buyers placing sell orders, and if there's enough, the level that was support turns into resistance. Now, here you get buyer's remorse manifested in a different way. You get people who bought here who, when the price goes lower, they're like, damn, and say if it ever gets back up to my level, I'm going to selling it out. So you run into resistance at former peaks because of this notion or this characteristic of market psychology. So that's our healthcare sector. Then we'll go check our consumer discretionary sector, which is Pretty flat. I don't know. Testing the top of its range. Maybe there's a trade in here if it doesn't break through the top of this range. That's how people trade ranges, right? Sell the top, buy at the bottom, or wait for the breakout one way or the other. So right now, we're right up at the top here. So this is probably something to look for a little bit of a reversal. But, it's neutral, so I don't think it would be anything too dramatic. All right. We can go look at our industrial sector, and here is yet another sector that is overbought and at resistance. So we can see down here the RSI is overbought. Support over here became resistance over here. And look how clear the support is. It's really amazing when you look at these charts. I mean, it's just how this stuff plays out. And what's cool is if you come and you hang out like every morning and you look at this stuff every day, you just kind of see how it just starts to play out. I mean, people say to me a lot of times, like, Mark, you make these like really astute market calls. And I say, I really don't. I mean, I'm not really predicting anything. I'm just watching what's going on and just getting ready to react. I mean, this is overbought and it's at resistance. Well, what is resistance? Well, resistance is a price level or, a price level or close to that level where you have a large group of traders and investors who are thinking about selling. So the market's at a level where you got a lot of sell interest, right? You also got these overbought conditions, and that's going to draw sellers into the market because they're going to be anticipating a reversal. A lot of trading strategies are built upon this concept of reversal to the mean. So now I know that eventually, if this doesn't break out, some of these traders are going to really start to get anxious and they're going to say, I better reduce the price I'm willing to sell at because if I don't, someone else may, and they're going to undercut me, and then the buyers are going to go to them. And this could result in you get the snowball effect heading south. So if it looks like we start to break here, that's the market telling us, hey, the industrial sector looks like it's about to head lower. So you can look for some shorts in this sector over here. Consumer staples looks like a little bit of a trend higher. Probably not enough room there for a trade. Let's see, utilities. Now, utilities also has this ascending triangle pattern for it here. Now, let's just think about this. So if interest rates go down, people will be buying utilities, and that'll cause this to break out. So even though this is like a classic formation, just where the market's at right now, there's just so much focus on interest rates that I think that's that could kind of trump the pattern. I mean, these patterns aren't infallible, obviously, but if interest rates stay flat or if they start to move down a little bit, then this will probably break out and then you'll have a decent move here. People think utilities are boring, and I guess maybe they kind of are, but you can get much better premiums. Like, remember we were looking at NVIDIA, just when they reported the amount of the premiums you'd have to pay. Like if we were thinking about putting on some kind of a market neutral strategy, like a collar or a strangle, and because it's just so popular, the premiums are just higher. I mean, people think about like, oh, let's trade NVIDIA, let's trade Tesla. No one's saying, let's go trade, let's go trade Con Ed, but you can probably get a better premium or a lower premium, I should say. And from a percentage basis, you could end up better off. So it's in a lot of ways, I think it's good to find these things that are off the beaten path in a lot of ways. Oh, look at this. All right. So this here looks to me like we're going to have some more downside here in natural gas because we just broke a support level. So we got resistance. It converted into support around 285. Okay. And we got down to support for 4 days. And this morning we're breaking below. So this tells us that the traders who created the support with their buy orders have left the market. So anytime you take demand off of a market, it sets the stage for the price to go lower, because now the sellers, or the supply side, they're going to have to offer their, in this case, contracts, because this is natural gas, out at a discount. So I think that this thing could get right back down to about 250 in a heartbeat. And in that case, you can look at the cold ETF, right? So look at this. So this was down it's down 4.2%. This ETF here, KOLD, is designed to travel in the inverse direction of natural gas. And it uses leverage, so it's designed to go about twice as much. So if natural gas keeps going lower, I mean, look at this. In the pre-market, it's up 7.5%.
That's a lot of money.
And natural gas is down 4%, right? So the numbers won't add up exactly, because they measure from different starting times. Like natural gas basically trades around the clock, and that cold only trades when the markets are open, or the equity markets are open. So it's not. So if you don't see an exact correlation, then that's why. It's just all right. And here is oil, continues to trend lower, but found some support. See how this level down here, 74, right? That was the low trade there. Was a low trade there. But I don't know. Looks kind of neutralish for me now. All right, let's see here. I'm blowing my account up. I need a call or a put that will keep my head above water. Well, you don't want to trade scared. It's okay to stay on the sidelines if you don't see anything that really sticks out. I do think that we're going to get a sell-off, but I don't know if that starts tomorrow or next week.
Sometimes watching is a good thing, Maru, until it sets up, and then you do it. Let the chart tell you when to trade. Don't just trade because you think it's going to do it.
Yeah, because like one of my favorite quotes ever. There was a guy named Jesse Livermore who was this great trader back in the 20s, and there's actually a famous book. It's called Reminiscence of a Stock Operator, which was supposedly written about him. And I highly recommended reading, because even though the book's from like 100 years ago, it's, if you change the names and you change the names of the stocks, it could have been written last week. It just shows you how things don't change. Like one of the ways, a characteristic of a market top is when people who don't typically buy stocks are, say, buying stocks, because there's no one left to buy afterwards, right? And I had that example here where I had the plumber at my house, and it was literally like within a week of the market top back in December of 21, and he was telling me how a friend of his who was a plumber and a friend of his who was an HVAC guy had quit their jobs to become day traders. Now, no offense to those guys, but when people like that who don't typically buy stocks are buying stocks, well, that's the end of the party. There's no one left to push the price higher. And if you read Reminiscences of a Stock Operator, he talks about how, I don't remember exactly where, but he's at some party and there's these two old ladies talking, and one of them is like, oh, I just bought like United Buggy Works or whatever, United Saddle Company, whatever the hot company was back then. And he says to himself, when people who don't buy stocks are buying them, that's the end of the line. There's no one else who could push it any higher. So it just shows you how human nature hasn't changed, right? We can see these same patterns of support turning into resistance, or support remaining resistance. If you go back and look at charts, which we do, of the Dow Jones, like from the late 1800s and early 1900s, you see these same patterns. And that's because the companies have changed, but the psychology hasn't changed. So FCX, well, I mean, this looks pretty neutral to me. I don't really see much going on here. But I would say if it gets up to around 38, that's where I'd be looking for resistance. This morning, just down 10 cents. And then I would say I'd look for support down around, I'm going to go to the bottom of this range. So 33.30 on the bottom and 38 on the top. Maybe if you're a shorter term trader, it could look like right in here. 36 looks like, see 36, see how it was the high trade there, and then it was resistance for like 3 days here. All right, so if we look at the 5-day chart here. All right, so here's our 5-day, and $36.60. All right, so 36.60. If this, I'd be looking, if this breaks 36.60, I think there's a good chance we make a pretty decent move lower, because we have our fast move higher over here, right? And a lot of times when you get a fast move up and then you reverse and get back to those price levels, you tend to move quickly back the other way as well. Because, like in this case, we know that one of the main reasons why we get support is because we have remorseful sellers trying to buy their shares back. When you move really quickly through price levels like this, there's not a lot of time for there to be this big, large amount of vested interest to form, because the stock just isn't at those price levels for long enough. So if you have no one selling, or only a limited amount of people who are selling, you're not going to have that many remorseful sellers trying to buy their shares back. So if we fall back within this range here, there's a good chance there's going to be a lack of buyers. So sellers are going to have no choice but to offer their shares out at a discount in order to get buyers interested. And then that sets the stage for a move lower. So I would have this on the radar screen for a potential trader. I mean, it's not a big move, but for an options trader, I think you could have something going on there, right? Remember, fast move up, fast move down. You can see it like in a lot of places, like right here. See, you get your fast move up, then you eventually reverse and get back to these price levels, and then you get the fast move back down through them. So it's something you see on a lot of charts. And if you don't understand the psychological aspect of this, you're never going to figure out why that happens. But if you do think about the psychological aspect, it makes it easy to understand why it happens.
And then SMH from Hamid. Semiconductor ETF.
Not yet. I would wait for this 161 level to break.
It's a clear gap, though.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I don't think I would short. I wouldn't short this here, because we can see here, like if the 61 level, 161, had been resistance, and now it looks like it's converting into support. So that sets the stage generally for a new move higher. But based on the stuff I was talking about before, this rapid change in sentiment and chance that interest rates could start to be moving higher, I would have it on the radar screen, but I would wait for this support to break before I did anything. So this blue line is actually, let me give you a more precise level. 160.85. I would say if we got below 160, that's probably where that would be my trigger to get in. But that's what I'm looking at. I mean, obviously a short, you think something's going to go down, but this action here looks kind of bullish, and that what was resistance is converted into support. But again, this could be trumped by a big move in interest rates. So that would be my answer for that.
And then Disney, yes.
The evil empire.
You guys have any other tickers that you'd like us to take a look at? Please put them in the chat. And then while you're at that, smash the like and share the stream, please.
Wow, this really came back. Guess that's because of their management shakeup or whatever. The activists investors are coming in here. It is pretty overbought, though. Yeah, so I don't know if I would buy it here because it's overbought, and just in general, I think the market looks kind of weak. But if it got back down to around like this 92 level, that's where I would get interested. Also, too, I mean, you can see we're probably pretty close to resistance. 96.5. What was I trade on Friday? 96.50. Amazing. So 96.5. Yeah, so overbought, getting close to resistance. I think there's a good chance it probably comes in a little bit here.
And then Apple?
Apple is also kind of an interesting chart. All right, because we got up to this 190 level and see how we broke our uptrend. And now we're sitting right on this potential support level. So this is an important thing to watch. And like if you're thinking about the semiconductor short, I mean, I don't know if you could really define Apple as a semiconductor, but it's the biggest stock in the tech sector. So if this support starts to give way and Apple starts to head lower, that could be the catalyst for that SMH to get back below that 160 level. So when a market's going higher, right, it's out of equilibrium. There's not enough supply to fill the demand. So buyers have to push it higher and higher and higher. Now, if you think about it, when the market gets into equilibrium, what happens? Well, it starts to trade sideways. Supply and demand have equated or become equalized. So just by the way charts are constructed, if you got up here and the price stopped moving higher, what happens? Well, it crosses the trend line. So this could be the first sign that something's reversing, because if something is going up, what's the first thing it needs to do before it starts to go down? And the answer is it needs to stop moving higher. So Apple was in this powerful rally up until last Thursday, the 23rd. And why is this? No, the 16th. Okay. I'm sorry. I got mixed up because of the Thanksgiving. But anyway, the last 6 trading days, it's traded sideways. So this could be a sign that the equilibrium is shifting from, out of equilibrium. There's not enough supply. All of a sudden now supply and demand are equalized. Well, maybe now supply is about to overpower demand and there's not enough demand. And then that sets the stage for the move lower. And what happens is a lot of times when we get to resistance is a level where people want to sell. There's a lot of sell interest. And some of these traders notice the price isn't going up anymore. So we know markets move higher because there's not enough sellers. There's not enough supply. If we stop moving higher, what happens? Well, we can infer that there must be new sellers coming into the market. That's why it's not moving any higher. So some of the sellers start to worry and they start to think, gee, I better reduce the price I'm willing to sell at, because if there's someone who's willing to sell at a lower price than me, that's who the buyers are going to go to. So you get this, this like reverse bidding war. I mean, it's not a bidding war because you're selling, but you get these sellers all get nervous and they start undercutting each other. So this is why we want to know where these important price levels are, because when we get to them, we tend to make these moves, right? We tend to either break out or reverse. It's very rare that something gets to an important price level and hangs out for too long. I would even say this is rare here, this Apple being here for 6 days. I mean, look at back here. We were there for literally 2 days.
Yeah.
Coin. Tell you when the history is written on this whole crypto thing one day, it's going to be pretty interesting because there's so much. I still think there's more to come. That Binance dude just said he was
He's got like a
guilty.
$4 billion fine. This has to be up just on the Bitcoin price.
Yeah, but I mean, this is like this. This is really overstretched there. I mean, I would be looking at this for a reversal because one, look how overbought we are, right? And two, we got to this level that was resistance before. So we're going to call this 116. Actually, let me get a precise level there. Actually, we're going to call it 115. So what happens? A lot of times we find resistance at levels that had been resistance before. And this is also due to a psychological thing. Right? You get people who bought here who tell themselves, I made a mistake. If this thing ever gets back up to my price and I can get out of break even, I'm going to. So you get people who bought here who are trying to sell over here. And people who bought here are trying to sell over here. So to me, this would be on my list of potential short trades. And the key is, though, you got to, most people just jump in. They don't wait for the reversal to start. This red line here is what we call this Bollinger Band. And this is 2 standard deviations above the mean, above the 20-day moving average. And as you can see, we're above it. So that's going to draw on it's just a different way of measuring overbought or oversold, just like this RSI indicator is. So really overbought at resistance, my guess is it's going to go lower. And actually, look, in the pre-market, it's already down 2%. You see what Bitcoin looks like here. Oops. Bitcoin dollar. Yeah, I mean, Bitcoin's kind of really not doing much.
Mm-mm.
Consolidating. But yeah, I would look at that coin. To me, looks like something I would be interested in on the short side. All right, let's just go take a look at what the headlines are before we get going here. All right. Negotiators work to extend truce.
That's a mistake.
You know why this is a mistake? Because now Hamas is totally
In control.
taking attention away from like the atrocities that were committed. You know what I mean? So now, like, no one's talking about, at least over here, no one's talking about, oh my God, they killed old people and kids. Now it's like, oh, they're going to give back some hostages, and I think it's quite telling that they haven't given back any American hostages yet.
Well,
And then Putin calls Hamas and they release all the Russian hostages.
that's because I mean, look, we're being run by a cabal of absolute assholes in this country, and it's just
Right.
that simple. It doesn't matter.
Language, man.
But it doesn't matter about their party. They don't care about what the American people stand for and what we are and what we want to be. And it's over. It's disgusting.
I was watching, I don't know what this girl's name is, Cassidy, something or another. And she's the one that said that, that Donald Trump tried to beat up the Secret Service and steal the limousine.
You mean she's still got airwaves? They're letting that girl talk still?
Yeah, dude. And it's like, you could be the biggest Donald Trump hater in the world. It's just no one with an IQ above 80 could possibly believe that story is true. And let's not forget, too, the Secret Service agents all swore under oath that it didn't happen.
Not to mention, you'd have to be 10 feet tall to reach from the back of the thing through a bulletproof glass and 2 foot of metal to grab the steering wheel over a 7-foot man. Come on.
Oh, look at this. Poor Bill Belichick, man. Boy, the Patriots suck, man.
You can tell he's been putting down some groceries, too, thinking about it.
Oh, man. He should have just this is the whole thing about the egos, right? It's like Belichick wanted to prove that he could win without Tom Brady. So when Brady asked for $50 million for a year, they should have just given
Yep.
it, and maybe they would have won another Super Bowl,
Yep.
and then Brady could retire and he would have been on the pass for 20 years and that would be it. But it's the ego, Belichick just wanted to show, hey, I don't need this guy to win. It's all about me. And what's happened since Brady left? They suck. So, all right. So
Yeah.
let's see. A new low for the franchise. Their offense was helpless. 2-9 on the season. Yeah, it's pretty hard to watch, man. They're pretty bad. All right. Anyway, I guess I'm gonna get going. I got to upload our newsletters, and I will be back tomorrow. And I guess we'll see you all then.
Guys, thank you. Have a wonderful day trading the market, and I hope you have a blessed day. Take it easy.